Chris Adams, John Corneal, and I are going to walk you through our engagement campaign. We're really excited. We're going to be launching this in the next month. And it's going to talk a lot about the elements of the campaign. And so I think you're going to really enjoy hearing what we're about to embark on, and for you all to see if there's a role for you in this throughout the process. So the next slide, Elaine. All right. Let me just get rid of this. All right. So the assignment to the staff was to develop a global multi-tiered giving campaign to raise $50 million and to broaden our base of donors. The campaign and the exciting part of the campaign too is that it's going to highlight our 50-year anniversary. And so that's really exciting for the organization. The next slide. So the foundation has 5 major organizational priorities. Create a rallying cry for a high investment constituent engagement and the 50th anniversary. Number 2 is to design a transformational major gifts and legacy campaign, really to focus our relationship with our constituents and to raise $40 million. And you'll see why I said 40 here after I continuously talk about 50 million. Ensure a robust, broad-based donor engagement. And that's really going to be critical as we move forward. And that channel is to raise $10 million. And number 4 is to create a compelling donor-centered communication that supports increased giving and getting through dynamic storytelling across all channels, which is really where Chris and the team he's working with is going to be an integral part of that. And number 5 is to inspire and re-energize the board, the national trustees, and other various advisory groups like the chapter presidents for high impact and deeper ownership of the campaign. So the campaign is broken down into 3 channels. 20 million for outright giving with a $5 million challenge, and a $20 million legacy, which John will talk about in a little bit, and then back to the 10 million broad base, which brings us to the $50 million. And then really the roadmap and milestones around the campaign will be to launch it in October.
Judy, this is Davida. I've got a quick question. You sound like you're reading stuff. I am on a landline, not looking at a screen. So is this something that is visual to those who are on the Zoom platform?
Do you have it visual, Elaine? Is it visual for everyone?
Yes.
Okay, because it sounded like Judy was reading. Okay, so my question is, instead of me trying to write furiously what you're saying, or these different, it sounds like important, will you be sending this information out in writing?
We were going to send out the recording if that's helpful.
Just so you know, if the
we can certainly we can send this out as well. We'll send this out.
Okay. All right. That's great. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. And then we're going to engage folks from November of 2020 through September of 21. And then in September of 21, we're going to have our 50th anniversary event, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. and then we'll close the campaign out. It's going to be a 5-year campaign. All right, next.
So hello, everyone. It's Chris Adams. I'm the VP of Marketing and Communications. Actually, I haven't had a chance to meet everyone. But Davida, to your point, we do have some slides, and what we'll do is make sure that we get this recording and the slides to everyone, but we'll make sure to describe what is on the screen for those who are unable to see those. So right now, you know, as we're looking at the campaign, the big important thing here is, you know, as an organization, we created the new beacon logo for Foundation Fighting Blindness. As we were going a little bit further with the campaign, we wanted to kind of talk about not only have we been fighting the retinal diseases over the past 50 years, we're also winning. But we're not winning alone. It's that idea that everyone together, from donors to volunteers to leaders, together we're winning. So we're including a tagline below the logo that's in italics that does say "Together we're winning." Elaine? So let me describe a little bit more of what that tagline refers to. So when you think of the idea of together, again, it's talking about us as a robust community with the scientists, the researchers, the chapters, the volunteers, everyone, as I said. So basically, it's in short, it's you. You are our leaders. So with all the work that you're doing, you're really helping us form that sense of togetherness. The idea of the word we are, you know, that operative word here is are. It's active. We're actively achieving major breakthroughs and small victories daily that demonstrates our efficacy. And the idea of winning, I think that's it's a claim that we can take. Now, I think back, you know, you look at, you know, several decades, probably something we weren't able to say, but now we're able to say that. So we want to include that in our mission, that we are winning, and it suggests that those breakthrough treatments and cures are increasingly common and well within our grasp. We know there's a lot of work that is still yet to be done. So, you know, those resources is hopefully what we're looking for within this engagement campaign. So when you look at the idea of winning, winning means giving what it takes. Winning means walking for a cure. Winning means representing the cause. Winning means sharing your voice. Winning means defeating the diseases that cause blindness. Ultimately, winning means victory. As Judy was talking about within the campaign, so the Together We're Winning is quietly launching, or without a big fanfare. We'll be launching next month, October, which is actually tomorrow. But as we roll out the phase, there'll be a quiet phase going into our anniversary year. We're going to announce that in February. So there's a campaign that Judy and her team will really be working on. It's the Victory for Vision campaign. Those are, you know, the goal is really to have something that it's branded, that is ownable. So we have an icon right now on screen that has Victory for Vision in all caps above an icon, which is actually an eye that is orange. And in the iris of the eye is the turquoise from the foundation logo, with the pupil being the dark blue, and then the word campaign. Originally, I think earlier on, you guys may have heard some early onsets of Campaign for Cures. We did a lot of work internally and had lots of conversations with our partners to really make sure that the campaign that we're working on is something that is ownable for this $50 million that it's our goal. Next slide. So when you look at it, in keeping with the idea of the winning, again, we're claiming leadership positions. So this again reinforces that whole idea of victory for vision. We want to reinforce that we are in the vision research category. Our campaign will emphasize the ultimate goal of defeating the diseases that cause blindness. Now, while the campaign name will be used primarily for our transformational giving campaign that Judy will be in charge of with a limited time, that whole idea of victory will continue to extend through all the pieces that we talk about. So we'll dial up and dial down the messaging depending on that. So when you think about it, every walk, every donation, every scientific breakthrough is potentially a victory for us. And that's how we got to that. And what we liked about the icon, we're going to be marrying that icon, Victory for Vision, with, it will be to the left of the Foundation Fighting Blindness logo. But what is nice about it is in the bottom below the logo, there's the phrase campaign. It allows us to customize it a little bit more throughout the campaign. So if we have a corporate sponsor, they're a Victory for Vision partner. So the Victory for Vision will be above the eye, partner would be below the eye. If we wanted to do a program with all of our volunteers and identify them, we can have it as the Victory for Vision volunteer. And then what's also nice about it from a chapter perspective with everyone here today is customizing each of the chapters. So any of the collateral or communication or the emails or social, we can have the Victory for Vision New York, Victory for Vision Raleigh. So that is, you know, branded on the very bottom of each of those. So there's lots of flexibility with the logo creation for the campaign. I'll stop there and see if there's any questions. Perfect. I'll pass it back over to Judy.
Thanks, Chris. And the next slide, please. Just to touch on what Chris was saying, the branding for the Victory for Vision and the way we can add chapter names and different things is really cool. I think we're going to get a lot of use out of that as the campaign goes forward. So it will be pretty cool. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the Victory for Vision, the transformational giving campaign. And so as I noted in the beginning, there's a $20 million goal with a $5 million matching or challenge grant. And really what this part of the campaign is for is to really strengthen and build even broader our major gifts program. And so here we have what we're calling the winner circle. The winner circle is donors that give at a certain level. And again, we're back to that branding. This branding is very cool. It's a circle. It has a person that has their hands in the air. And there's sort of a half a circle above them, and with their head, it actually makes an eye when their arms are up. It's a really nice branding. This group represents $6.5 million towards that $50 million goal. And the way we're looking to get there is 20 donors at $100,000, 50 at $50,000, and 80 at $25,000, which brings in 150 donors at $6.5 million. And so what we've done is really gone through our current data. And so from that data, we were able to identify 449 individuals that have giving history, have the capacity. We know that they have an inclination to give because they've given to the organization in the past and they participated in the last campaign. Some of them participated in the last campaign, the gun challenge, which many of you are familiar with. And so what we've done even further than to get to that 20 million, after looking at more donors, is really go through to identify what the giving level will need to be. We talked about that a little bit, but to get to that 20 million, we know we need one donor at $5 million. And that's that challenge or matching gift that I talked about a little bit ago. And then we need 2 donors to give at the $1 million level. And we have 9 prospects that fit in that $1 million level. And then we need 5 donors at 500,000, and we have 10 prospects. And then we need 16 gifts at 250. We currently have 21 prospects. We need 20 at the 100,000. We have 44 prospects, and 50 for the 50,000. We have 45 prospects, and we need 80 gifts at the 25,000, and currently have 78 prospects. That's how we're looking at this in order to stay focused and stay on target to raise the $20 million. All right. And go ahead and go to the next one, Elaine, thanks. And then when we're looking at these, at the donors, and we're breaking them down by region, it's pretty interesting. So in the East Coast, we have, and based in New York, we have over 70 donors that fit into that criteria I just talked to you about. We have 29 donors in the West Coast in California. We have 34 donors in Chicago, the Midwest. We have 29 in the DC, Maryland area. We have 23 in Southeast Florida. We have 5 in Southwest Texas. We have 4 in the Rocky Mountains, Colorado. We have 3 international, and then we have 7 donors that we don't really know where they're located. They may have been anonymous and so forth when we were looking down at the breakdown of the data at the time. And I'll add, we have a program that's called Wealth Engine. And so the program Wealth Engine is really how it really is critical to how we look at the data with our donors. So Wealth Engine can take these donors that we currently have and provide us with additional information. You know, other organizations, they support the capacity of what their gifts could be. And that's how we identify if somebody can give $1 million. We may have found that they have a net worth of 50 million or $100 million. And so we may know that they've supported other organizations that might be similar to the foundation. And so that's really how we evaluate those numbers of, you know, we might have 5 at, you know, $100,000. In addition to that, we know that we have 172 of those donors that are ready to be asked. They've given, they've shown us that they're ready to support us. And it's, you know, then it's our job now to make sure we're building those relationships and that we're making the asks. We have 20 that we have to bring a little closer. That means maybe they gave gifts over the course of time, and now we just need to make sure we're doing what we need to do to get in front of them and making sure they feel connected to the foundation. And then we have about 15 that we need to cultivate. Maybe they came in through a friend or something like that, and we really need to now establish what that relationship and build the relationship really from almost the beginning. Okay. Now, the exciting news of those individuals that I just talked to you about to get to that 20 million, and I said that we need 1 donor at 5 million. Well, I'm thrilled, and we should all be very excited that we did get that donor, that $5 million donor. So some of you may know Paul Manning, the Manning family. And so they contributed and are supporting the campaign. So they gave us that challenge grant that we can use to leverage other donors to help support the campaign. So now we need $15 million. So that's a big happy dance that we all should be doing. I think over time we may have been talking a little bit about the leadership of this campaign, and that's going to be really critical. So right now we have David Brint, our board chair, who has agreed to be one of our co-chairs. And then we have a couple of other asks out right now of a couple of other folks to join him as chairs of the overall campaign. Under that, then, we are going to build out some divisions. So one of those divisions would be a national division, and we'll have somebody chair that, and we'll have committee members that report up to the chair of the national. A board of directors and trustee division, same concept, a chair with committee. The next generation, and these are really looking at our young leaders from across the country and our pretty newly implemented strategic council, which Chris is overseeing. Our legacy division, and same concept, a chair and then committee. And that will be led by John Corneal, who you'll hear from in just a minute. And then our international division, I'm really excited about this opportunity to bring this international division into the campaign. You know, as you all know, we have these, you know, global researchers doing this incredible work around the world. And our donor base should represent that as well. So this international division is really going to give us an opportunity to bring in someone to lead the international, build the committee of international folks, and then really help us establish an international donor base from around the world. So very excited about that piece. All right, so the Victory for Vision campaign will be a success when we accomplish a couple things we just talked about. Secure a $5 million challenge gift. We did that, so we can check that. Raise 20 million in outright gifts and pledges. Generate 23 transformational gifts of $250,000 and up. Launch the Winner's Circle, which we talked about early on, the $6.5 million, and receive 100% financial commitment from our board of directors. You know, if we can check the boxes on all those items for the transformational piece of the campaign, we'll have been hugely successful. The great thing is we still have, you know, 4+ years to work on this, as well as the other pieces. All right, you can go to.
So you go ahead. So, you know, this is Chris again. So for Judy to be able to get all that work done, and for the whole team to really communicate around all the work that we're doing from a foundation perspective, there's going to be collateral that needs to be created, brochures, case statements, letterhead, whatever the case may be. One of the things too, as we were mentioning, is with the campaign, this is an opportunity for us to enhance some of our own branding from a foundation perspective. So the dark blue and the turquoise that we've had in our logo will still remain. The gold color that we had as part of highlights and secondary colors that we were using is actually being transformed into the orange, vibrant orange color, which really pops off the navy color and the dark blue color. So what we're going to have on screen right now is really it's a montage, a collage of, it's a pocket folder that's dark blue. And on the cover, it reads, "Together we envision a brighter future," with the Foundation Together We're Winning logo. When you open it up, there'll be a little bit of a body copy that speaks to the 50 years of what we've done over the 50 years and how we are going to get to the next 50 years that we're winning. Within that folder, There will be stationery that we'll use for a cover letter, any information that we want to share. But the most important piece of this would be a case statement brochure, the reason for giving. And I'll talk more about that piece in a second. And then at the same time, we thought what is the perfect thing is our annual report is going to be coming out in November. So we wanted to make sure that from a visual perspective, it played with that. So the case statement really has the bright orange color with together, we'll see an end to vision loss, winning the fight as a subject, a subhead. And then for the annual report, together we're winning will be on the cover in the light blue, the turquoise color. Go ahead, Elaine. So really from a case statement brochure, what we have on screen again is when you open up the brochure, there's a large, vibrant image of an individual. This individual is someone that we want to showcase who's heading up the campaign, and that's actually going to be David Brent. We're going to be shooting some photos with him in the next coming weeks. But really for this case statement, it's a little bit more information of why he's involved. Why is the mission of the foundation extremely important to him? So there's going to be some language that speaks to, his own personal journey and why he's committed to the foundation and his son. And so as we use this, we want to ensure from an accessibility perspective, all the fonts that are being used are a minimum of 14 point, even larger at times. But at the same time, we also want to make sure that we are multi-channel, that there's an audio version or something that works with screen readers. So Elaine, if you go to the next page, what we're going to do is develop a microsite. There's a video that will be created that tells that story from the case statement brochure that will be the hero of this, I would say, microsite that links out from the foundation website. We'll also have inspirational stories, like the introduction that we've done with our Beacon stories where we profile individuals. We want to expand upon that, but have it more targeted toward this campaign to the major donors who are involved with this engagement campaign. We want to celebrate the breakthroughs, those researchers, those scientists that are really making those breakthroughs and really emphasizing the wins that we're making in those small victories that we're taking. And then at the same time, we want to celebrate those major donors, those champions who are giving. So in this, we have a picture of Paul Manning. Through the case statement and the brochure and the website, what we're going to do is make sure that there's an interactive timeline on the website. So we're going to highlight key moments of those years from when we were founded in '71 and celebrate all those successes to reinforce, again, it's that idea that no, we're not just fighting, we're winning in those small victories. And so this is going to be the microsite that we'll have as a companion piece that the team will be able to use to tell our story. I don't know if there are any questions. Perfect. Back over to Judy and John.
Over to John. Take it away, Legacy Campaign.
Am I off mute?
You are.
How about my face? Am I square? Don't answer that.
A little round.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I think I know the vast majority of the people on this call, and you know me that I'm the Director of Legacy Giving. Elaine, don't worry about the slides. I can't see them, so you guys don't worry about what's following along. I just kind of shoot from the hip, which is scary sometimes. So the legacy component of this $50 million campaign is $20 million. Rest assured that it is not going to be $20 million of current money, because that would mean we somehow have to create a legacy gift, somehow assist in people dying so we could actually get the money, and that probably wouldn't be very well received amongst our members. So the way that we are going to try to reach that $20 million goal is really three different sources. And before I get to that, though, let me just, I think there's maybe some newer folks on the call. When we talk about a legacy gift to the foundation, we're talking about a gift that comes to us for the most part as a result of the death of someone. Doesn't have to be a member. We get a lot of legacy gifts from people that we never knew about, were never in our database. So the one exception to that would be our charitable gift annuity program, where we actually get the money with the time that the annuity is purchased. So the thing that we haven't done is in the past, when somebody notifies us that they have created a legacy gift, in other words, they've put the foundation in their will or their trust, or named the foundation as a beneficiary of a life insurance policy, a retirement account. There's countless different ways to create a legacy gift. That person has become a member of our legacy society. We do not ask for anything in writing. We don't ask for a value of the gift or even an estimate of the value. And I know that there are at least 4 or 5 people on this call right now that are members of our legacy society. I won't name names, but they have told us that they've created a legacy gift. And I'm pretty sure that none of those folks have told us, nor have we asked, to estimate the value of what they think that legacy gift might be. So we're going to use this campaign as an opportunity to gently, with sensitivity, to reach out to our current Legacy Society members. And we've got about 450, 500 or so Legacy Society members, to see if they would be willing, which they haven't done in the past, to tell us how much, basically. What do you think the value of your gift might be? There'll be no requirement to do that, of course, no pressure, but hopefully people will feel inspired and motivated to do that as part of the campaign to help us reach the 20 million. Because if someone does that, then we will count that gift toward the 20 million. So if one of the Legacy Society members says, yes, I have you in my will for a specific dollar gift of $50,000, then we would count that as 50,000 toward the goal. A more common way that people leave gifts is through a percentage of their estate. It's 10%, 25%, whatever it happens to be. That's a little more difficult to value because it's 10% of what? Who knows what they're going to have at the time they actually pass away. But an estimate is fine. So that's going to be hopefully a source where we'll get some idea of monetary values of our legacy gifts to count this toward our goal. There are a handful at most of people in the Legacy Society who have told us what they think the value of their gift is. So we won't count what that known value is, because this is all going to be starting from the campaign moving forward. But if someone in that group, already identified groups, creates a new gift, of course that would count. Or if they increased their current legacy gift, say they went from 10% to 20%, that increase in value would count. The biggest pool that we hope for, though, of course, would be brand new Legacy Society members. These would be people that so far have either created a legacy gift but haven't raised their hand, we know nothing about them, or someone who has not done it at all, but they decide they're going to go out and they're going to do something, they're going to make that estate plan, they're going to make that planning that they really should be doing anyway, notwithstanding any campaign or any gift to charity, and that they'll include the foundation in that. The larger number of people ultimately that we have in our Legacy Society, obviously that's going to mean the more money to the foundation in the future. And it's really, the legacy program, you're going to be hearing more about it in the future as chapter presidents, trust me, as we re-energize and refocus toward chapters, because it's hugely important to the success of the foundation moving forward. I mean, I hardly even get excited anymore, that's relatively speaking, about a 5-figure gift, legacy gift to the foundation. you know, $10,000 gift. But then I think about it, and a lot of you know this too, if you're involved with our vision walks, you know, a lot of our goals for our vision walks are in 5 figures, or less than $100,000. And think how hard you have to work to raise that kind of money for a walk. And in one legacy gift, it can equal and oftentimes does surpass what an entire walk will do. So that's why it's really, really important to the future of the organization that we grow our legacy society.
Audio now unmuted.
And we, you know, we have been fortunate to identify, and just 2 days ago, got the go-ahead, got the green light from 2 very special donors to the foundation. Some of you may know them. They come to Visions conferences. They live in Seattle. They participate in the walk. But Bob and Lupe Reinsma, they are both in their mid-80s, and they are, and I'm not at liberty to divulge the value of the legacy gifts that they have created. And they happen to be one of those few that we know pretty much what the value will be, but it is significant. And we wanted to really come up with somebody who kind of checked all the boxes. And, you know, there's many of you on this call that do, believe me. The Reinsmas, though, you know, for many, many reasons, thought they just would make the perfect folks to be the face of the legacy arm of this campaign. So they've accepted our request to do that, to honor them in this way. We are going to name a special legacy society that will be gifts that come in during the campaign, the Reinsma Family Legacy Society 2025, for when it will end. There's a special logo that is being created. We're going to use them in their images on our marketing materials. Bob is the one who's affected. He is totally blind from RP, and he has profound hearing loss, not related to Usher, just has hearing loss in his family. Extremely great people, and we're just thrilled to have them as kind of the linchpin for the legacy component of the campaign. And it really has now kind of pulled the plug on many other things that we're able to do now, as far as recruiting committee members and so many other things that are going to flow out of this. So lots more to come on that. And you know, that's pretty much it. Again, can't overstate the importance of legacy. And depending upon what articles you read, there's going to be tens of trillions, with a T, of dollars that will transfer from generation to generation in the next 30 to 40 years. And all charities are out there wanting to have a part of that. And we've got a lot of people in our database that have incredible affection and loyalty to the foundation, who I think we don't even have to go outside of our database. I think we can make this $20 million just from people within the organization who have an affinity and just need to be nudged along a little bit to do something that, let's face it, nobody really likes to talk about death and dying, but once they do, we're going to be right there in a position to help motivate them to remember the foundation as part of their plan. So I think that's it. I probably didn't cover everything in the slides, but I think I hit the highlights. Judy, if I forgot something, let me know.
You nailed it.
Any questions from anyone?
John, this is Martha Steele.
Hi, Martha.
How you doing?
Good.
I have a couple of comments that I think draws upon what you were talking about. I think the first is, and I admit I'm not part of the society right now, but you have to stay on top of me, John. I've been meaning to do it for a while, so just bug me.
Coming after you, Martha.
Yeah. But one of the things that I think is so noteworthy about legacy giving to an organization, especially a nonprofit that is trying very hard to put as much of the funds that it raises to the research that we all crave, and as little as possible to the organization itself. And we all know that's a delicate balance, but the legacy giving is one of those things that really is a tremendous return, very little effort on the part of the organization in perspective, compared to a vision walk, for example. All the work that goes into, as you said, raising $100,000 versus a simple, putting FFB down as a primary beneficiary for 20% of a particular mutual fund or IRA is just a phenomenal difference in terms of the split between what ends up going to research versus the effort of getting that. And I think that's really something very much worthwhile to highlight because it just means that most of the money is going to go to the research, the more that you raise by your legacy. I think the second point is it is incredibly easy to make a legacy gift. You do not necessarily have to go out and hire a lawyer and make a will and so forth. It can be something as simple as naming FFB as a beneficiary. That is just takes literally minutes. And so I just think that it's a very fertile and effective way of getting donations to the foundation. That's just the points that I wanted to make.
Thanks, Martha. Those are two really, really insightful comments. The expenses for the legacy program at the foundation compared to, the revenue fluctuates. You can never predict it, but just as compared to what our goal is this year, the expenses are I don't want to say negligible, but very, very small from a percentage basis as compared to what the budgeted revenue is. And you're absolutely right. These legacy gifts, they can be created online. I mean, you can get beneficiary forms over the telephone. They can email them to you, fax them to you. You don't have to go see a lawyer, which nobody likes to do anyway. People even do online wills and trusts, and that's a discussion for another day. Yeah, those are great points. And of course, I've already decided who the Boston chapter legacy ambassador is going to be, Martha. You're a great spokesperson for it. So in your free time, you can be thinking about that. Other questions from anyone? You guys, as chapter presidents and chapter leaders, you really, it's so important. And I was so excited when I heard internally about what we're doing with chapters, and to have so many of you on this call really does help, really helps motivate somebody like me who's kind of been around for a while, and like everyone else, particularly vision walk time, it's kind of hard to get the motor running and get the engines revved up. But this does help inspire me. It knows that, when you're out there raising money and doing these things in your area, sometimes you think you're alone, but we know we're not. So thank everyone for doing that. And Carly, when you can announce the Eagles thing, whoa, that's awesome. I heard about it. Okay, I'm going to shut up now.
Thanks, John.
Go ahead, Chris. Thanks.
So, John just finished talking about the 20 million for the legacy. Judy talked about, the other 20 million. So where's the other 10 million that we're going to hit with the 50 million total in the 5 years? Well, that's going to come from, different avenues where we're going to focus on broadening our donor base, getting more people to get engaged with the foundation. And then we're also going to galvanize the next generation. Who are the leaders of tomorrow, the volunteers, the donors? So that's going to be the focus that we go into for this. So Next slide. When we look at that a little bit more, some of the goals and tactics that we're going to be able to do to be in conjunction with the transformational and the legacy giving efforts are really going to be comprised of several different components. One is our direct marketing program. We are going to add an additional layer of efforts, not just from a mail perspective, but also from a digital perspective. You know, when we look at the, growing the donor base in the next generation, we need to take advantage of where the donors are from a social perspective, from a digital perspective. Where are those donors and volunteers? So that's one aspect. DIY fundraising. We'll highlight this a little bit more, but I know we've kind of hinted to this a little bit. We've had the tool through Classy outside of Vision Walk to be able to do some additional fundraising. However you want to fundraise, to have a birthday party, a viewing party, a dance party, whatever the case may be, there's different ways that we're going to provide the tools for everyone to focus, to be able to raise those funds. The other thing that's extremely important are corporate partnerships, not only from a local perspective, but increasing those relationships to build upon regional partnerships and even national partnerships. So those are going to be some of the things that, we'll continue to focus. Judy will, talk more about even, from a chapter development, how we can have you guys help us. What are the tools you need from us to be able to really share our mission and get people engaged and fundraise. And then we'll talk a little about our 50th anniversary. That is in September of 2021. How do we use that to celebrate all the work that we have done? So within the 5 years with all of these tactics, our goal is to hit $10 million. So when you look at it, we're going to make sure that we align all of the channel messaging around an organized content calendar for all those pieces, including everything that we talked about earlier. We want to make sure that we're strengthening our brand positioning and increase our awareness. And we also want to make sure we're fulfilling a specific tactical objectives. Depending on what we're doing, is it about engagement? Is it about donor conversion? Is it about fundraising? We want to make sure that those objectives are clear and measurable.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
When you, for that $10 million, is that where like vision walks and dinners and things like that, is that where it's counting towards that 10 million?
This is actually incremental to Vision Walk and the dinners. So Michelle DiVincenzo has her set goals, that she'll have every year. So this is above and beyond. So even from a direct marketing perspective, I have base goals for what the revenue is for that. So this is all above and beyond those initial goals. Judy, did you want to add?
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. And as I was hinting to, again, a lot of the work that we do, especially from the digital space, what is great about it is that we can really start to measure, and it's more immediate than a lot of times when you look at some of the marketing assets out there that, from TV to radio, it's a little harder to gauge those. So when we're looking from a digital perspective, we're able to look at engagement. Are people sharing our content? Are they liking? Are they watching the videos? Even just clicking on an ad or a post, we're able to look at that. Are they adding, a donation within our Facebook page or clicking to a link to our donation page? We're able to look at all that information. But at the same time, what we want to be able to do is, as we're using those different platforms, how do we capture the donor information so we keep them engaged? Sometimes for a little bit of insight for you guys is that, from Facebook, it's a great tool, great way to communicate, easy way to make donations. But what ends up happening is we don't get the donor information. We have to go an extra step and try to engage them through Facebook Messenger. So there's little steps like that that we're going to have to do as we are developing the different tools to ensure that we are making that incremental ask in revenue. So on this screen, I'm not going to read through this, but basically what we're looking at is a full calendar. This starts this October, starting tomorrow, where a lot of the content we're going to develop is something that is specific to different causes we're doing, different initiatives. So for instance, with October, a lot of the focus is October's Blindness Awareness Day. There's World Sight Day on the 8th of October. There's White Cane Day on the 15th of October. And then of course, Virtual Vision Walk on the 24th. So there's lots of stuff that's happening in the month of October. And then also November, we want to have our second episode of Music to Our Eyes, that franchise that we just started with ex-ambassadors. There'll be Year in Giving. So there's lots of different things that we'll do during each of those months. So we'll make sure that you guys have that information to kind of illustrate and communicate what are the highlights, for the month. So right now it's just early mapping out of what we want to focus from now all the way until September of 2021.
Chris, this is Davida. Do you have somebody lined up for the November concert?
We do, but I'm not going to disclose until I get the confirmation in writing. But there are two individuals that actually we're mapping out. So we have the second and possibly the third one that will happen in first quarter.
I had suggested Tyler and Emma to Jason. Tyler and Emma Millard, and wrote the song Alive.
Yep.
So that was just a thought. And I
any
had a second album come out.
That's awesome. Any suggestions and stuff? My goal is to really keep this franchise going. I think it's a perfect avenue to connect with the community and to, again, broaden the audience. When you look at even from the slide that we're showing right now as Music to Our Eyes is a great example of how we're broadening the base. When we partnered with Brad and Brian of Two Blind Brothers, when they were a sponsor, they drove some initial registration on their page. Of the 1,500 people that registered as a reminder on their site, 500 of those individuals were new to the organization. So now we have 500 new donors that we can talk to sell our mission and get them engaged in various levels. So what our goal is, as we look at that information, making sure that we know where they live. So luckily we were able to capture that. So more to come with that. And the next slide. So DIY fundraising, I actually want to throw it over to Judy to talk to for this one.
Yeah, and so Chris commented a little bit about this, but we're really excited about this new or rebranding and relaunching of sort of your do-it-yourself fundraising events, third-party events, whatever we want to refer or what you're used to referring to these as, and it's called Raising Our Sights. And so it'll have some great branding around it, matching the same colors. We have built a toolkit and actually getting it approved, I think tomorrow, or at least getting it to the finish line soon. That really will highlight how somebody can easily start their own event. And what's going to be great about this event is that we can use these in areas where we don't necessarily have a walk program. We can still use it in partnership where we have walks, but this will be great for, a great example might be Maine. We had a walk there, we had a chapter there, it went away, but we still have some folks there. So this is a great opportunity to start marketing this program there. And the other piece of that too, I think, that we can start using it as a opportunity throughout the chapters as well. The chapters were just such a key part of why the Vision Walk program is the way it is today. And that was driven, we'd go into a market, we'd build a chapter, and then next came the walk. I think the Raising Our Sights program can benefit in the same way that the walk did by chapter leadership and outreach and marketing. So more to come on that as this program is rolled out and we start to launch it.
Perfect. Thanks, Judy. I think as we were talking to, corporate partnerships is going to become, extremely important for us. So what we wanted to do is make sure that we have a program for those partners. So that way we have templates and pitch decks and sample proposals that we can use. Even, you can use, everybody that talks about what our mission is, that is succinct. So we're working on all those assets to be able to kind of bring in those sponsors for vision seminars, for other chapter programs that we're working on. So we have a name for this as Share the Vision Partnership. They're signing on to be a partner to share our vision, on our mission. So more to come. But one of the things I wanted to highlight as a good example is Janssen. We've been having numerous conversations with, and you can go to the next slide, Elaine. As part of doing things a little bit differently, we were able to bring them in. Originally, it was trying to get them as a cause marketing partner, where during the month of October, for every like or post, they would donate $1 up to $50,000. Well, the money's still coming in, but there's a lot of red tape that's on the Janssen side. So they said, well, we can't do it the way you want it, but we'll just make a straight up donation at the end of the month. If that works, sure, I'm not turning it around. But an interesting thing that did come up, AGTC reached out just last week and said, hey, are you guys doing anything for October? And let them know exactly what we're doing. And so they're coming in with $10,000. $10,000, $5,000 for the share initiative of sharing posts, and also for World Sight Day on the 8th, they're going to be a match sponsor for that day. So you can see how just little efforts are starting to work for us, and we're really extremely excited. Janssen actually just signed on to be a very large sponsor of genetic testing. So we're really excited about that partnership that we're working with them. And then I'll throw it back to Judy.
Okay, so I know we're over time, so we're ready to wrap up in just a minute. So 50-year anniversary event. What we have on the screen right now is 50 years of fighting. It's the number 50 in the orange or the burnt orange, with sort of a burst in the middle to represent an eye in that turquoisey and navy blue colors. So 50 years of fighting. This will be the biggest event that the foundation has ever done, with a net of $2 million. So as we've mentioned throughout the day, the presentation, the event will take place in September 2021. So we're starting the planning right now. We don't know exactly what the concept is going to be. So we're working with some firms. We're brainstorming with some marketing folks, because we just don't want this to be, a gala or just a concert. We want it to be as big as it can. And the other thing we'd love to be able to do is let's say we host the event in Washington, D.C. How do we have all of the chapters be involved that same day? Is it a streaming event? Is it that everybody does something the same day at the same time? And so those are some of the things we'll work through. And the other thing that we know is going to be really important is that if we have to go virtual, that whatever we do, this event can translate into virtual. I'm sure you're like me and you're like, COVID will be gone by September 2021, but for some reason, if it isn't, we need to make sure we can still pull this event off and celebrate the 50th anniversary, which is going to be super, super important. And again, this is just, we want it to be an Oscar style event, exclusive, must attend and must do, high touch, high tech, high energy, and just really engaging of all of our constituents and beyond, bringing in corporate partners, anything and everything we can do. And so that's really the engagement campaign. We took the whole hour, sorry about that. But we hope that this is exciting to you as well, that it looks achievable. And so I'll pause there to see if anyone has any questions before we say goodbye. And Elaine, is everybody unmuted?
Let me double check. I don't think I have the ability to unmute everyone.
If you do have a question and you're on a device, your computer, Alt-A will unmute. If you're on a phone, *6 will unmute if you have any questions.
This is Dan Day. I just want to say this really is exciting. I think I'm really much looking forward to the coming year and what we can accomplish, especially once we get this COVID thing behind us. I think we're really getting well positioned to really take off like a rocket.
Yeah, we do need that COVID to go away. But I agree with you, Dan. It's going to be exciting. I think David is trying to say something, Elaine.
Okay.
I think this is Carl Gruber in New York. I joined the meeting a little late. Can you folks hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi, Carl.
I was interested in the colors that the scheme, bright orange and navy and blue, which are the colors of New York State.
It is interesting, Carl. It's Chris. Whenever you work on colors, it starts to resemble other things, and it reminds people of other. Even when we were looking at it, because the navy and the turquoise haven't changed from the mission of when we introduced the foundation logo and everything that we've been doing. So that stayed. We just switched the gold over to the orange. But we've also heard, colors are close to the Miami Dolphins, and so it's going to be a little bit of the remembrance that people are going to see different, places in remembrance of different teams and stuff like that. But we wanted to make sure that as we evolved, that they were strong colors that were emblematic of the work we're doing. And then also from an accessibility perspective, making sure that there is enough contrast. Because that was one thing we were noticing sometimes with the gold color, that yellow sometimes didn't have enough of that contrast. So we wanted to go with another vibrant color that had a little bit more contrast.
It sounds really good. A real quick sideline, Chris. I'm having trouble with Be My Eyes people. They're not responding as quickly as I thought they would. And that would fit our global outreach if we can get, to get our self-posted on Be My Eyes website.
Absolutely.
This, Davida, two questions. One, the $5 million Manning Challenge grant. So is there going to be some type of match coming out of that? And then my second question, I vaguely remember having a conversation with Jason where he was talking about a 5-year, $100 million fundraising plan. So I don't know if I'm dreaming that, but if I wasn't, is that other 50 million going to come from the walks and other events, et cetera?
No, that's a great question, Davida. So I think early on when we were working to prepare and look at our data, we just weren't sure what the number was yet.
Okay.
I think we were toying between 50 and 100 million.
Mm-hmm.
And so 50 is really what felt like the right number. And so I think that's where we settled. So it might have just been early on when he was talking to folks about it.
Audio now on mute.
And then the $5 million, is there, what type of opportunity is there for us to all be leveraging from that? Has that been fleshed out yet?
It hasn't. So we put some opportunities in front of the Manning family and we're just waiting to hear back. And so once we hear back from the Mannings, we'll be able to talk through what opportunities. I think there might be some Giving Society naming and things like that, but we're waiting to see what they come back with. The only thing we were allowed to do is really just celebrate that we got the 5 million, which we just learned about, I think last week or the week before but stay tuned. We'll have more on that, and certainly you'll see their name attached somehow, I think, within the campaign.
Okie doke.
Hey, Judy, this is Richard. I had a question, Judy, about what about RD Fund 2? How does that fold into this campaign?
Yeah, that's a great question, Richard. And I think, again, as we're building out these transformational gifts and those $1 million donors, we're going to have to see what that looks like. The RD Fund has their own goal. We didn't really tie them over into the campaign, but with that said, you know, we're certainly not turning people away and saying, no, we don't want your $1 million. And so if we have to talk through what that means, I think that's what we'll end up doing. Okay, I know that was a little vague answer, but it's still a little vague. Again, you know, we don't have, we sort of have now sort of the structure outlined here. And now that we sort of have that structure, it's now fine tuning all of the pieces. And I think that's where we are right now, is sort of fine tuning. Okay, we know we have, you know, X amount of donors to go and contact. We have, this is sort of the, saying we need 25 donors to give, $100,000 each. That's going to maybe change as we're going through the campaign. So we're going to be a little, looking at benchmarks, I think, year over year. Excuse me.
Judy, this is Martha. That conversation also, it may be, if I'm remembering correctly, that the foundation hopes to spend or fund around $105 million over the next 5 years in research grants. And that's, I believe, is just the funding of grants, not not including the RD fund.
That's absolutely right, Martha.
And so the reason I raised that, Davida, in particular, is that is about twice what the foundation has done in the previous 5 years. In other words, this capital campaign will be critical, I think, to helping the foundation double its investment in research, translational research, basic research, the sort of stuff that the foundation has been doing all along. The RD fund is basically investing in companies that are in either clinical trial or about to launch clinical trials for the most part. But I think it's important to note that the actual research goal of the foundation over the next 5 years and how the campaign ties into that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes.
Judy, I just have one quick question and then I have to hop off. But how are you going? Are you guys going to do a call to action for the committees? How are we going to get the word out to people that these committees need to be filled?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. So we are just in the beginning stages of even identifying chairs. So we haven't done anything yet with the committee structures other than here's the committee names. So yes, we will keep everybody well informed of who we're looking for chairs and committee members, and we're going to need an army out there. So we will absolutely beat the drum loud so you know exactly what we need and when we need it. And we're going to be doing these calls monthly, so we're going to be able to bring you up to speed on where we are with that. The chapter managers, the folks that are working with the chapter presidents currently, they'll be able to start bringing stuff forward as we get it. What'll be really helpful is when we have some marketing materials, Chris. And so that's going to be helpful as well. So again, we're in such the early stages. We just wanted to be able to get this in front of everybody so they knew where we were today. But we would love, if you're interested in being on a committee, that you let us know, and we will certainly take advantage of you. All right, any other questions? All right, well, thank you for, I know we went way over, so thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and more to come as we continue to build out the program.